Hey there, and welcome to another episode of your favorite libertarian. Today's episode we're going to be talking about this guy, which is the Scalarworks Leap Mount. This is the lower 1/3 option, and if you are wondering what this is, you can check out a full series, a full playlist on my channel, just by going to my channel, going to the playlist. I've got a bunch of really cool playlists. If you're into certain categories of the stuff that I do, you can binge watch those categories in the playlist. A couple housekeeping items before we get started with this review and installation. First is that I have a link tree. If you go to my description, it will have the link to my link tree. The link tree has all of the links that YouTube does not want me to put in the description. One of those links is my Join Rumble link. I'm also on Rumble just in case YouTube cancels me for having free speech or, saying stuff about freedom. I'll still be on Rumble. So if you could click the Join Rumble link in my link tree, then that will help me out financially. That would be much appreciated. And again, all of my videos that are here will be over there, except for some that might be too risque for YouTube to handle. So if you could do that, that'd be awesome. Also, if you're new to the channel, think about hitting subscribe. It really helps the channel out a lot and lets YouTube know that freedom-based content is something that people want to see. Now on to the video. Before we get started with the installation of the Scalarworks mount, I first want to talk about why I'm switching from this mount to that. The first reason of which is that there are a lot of points of failure in this setup. You have these two screws that attach the A2 carry handle rear sight to the upper receiver. Either one of those walk loose, you could have some issues. You also have this screw that goes up through the rear sight carry handle to the pick rail. If that comes loose, you could have some shifts in zero as well. Then you have the mount that mounts the optic to that pick rail. There's a screw there. Then you also have 4 screws that go through this mount into the body of the optic. All of that, as long as everything's working perfectly, and so far it has. I haven't had any issues in testing or shooting. But if any one of those screws comes loose or something goes wrong there, you could have some shift in zero. You could have some stuff coming loose. The next reason is going to be the difference in weight between this chunky, elongated setup and this tiny Scalarworks mount. This is super light, super small. It's going to be better, I think, we'll see, but I think it's going to be better in having this be a more compact package if I'm putting it in a bag, but it's also going to decrease the amount of weight that I have for this overall already pretty lightweight build. And the last reason for me is going to be the height over bore difference. It's a pretty drastic difference, as you can see. With a lower 1/3, you're still going to have to know your holdovers, but it's not going to be as drastic of a difference as this would be. All right, let's get started taking this apart, shall we? First, we're going to make sure that's unloaded. Safety's on as well. I'm going to go into my box the optic came in. It already has a tool for installation that we're going to use. That's going to be this guy. Go ahead and loosen this. There we go. Now we have the optic itself. As you can see, I have the 4 screws here. I have witness marked those as well, just to see if those are walking out. Not that I could actually see them while they're on the gun, but there you go. And while I'm here, I'll also take off the A2 carry handle rear sight. Once you get these 2 screws loose enough, you can go ahead and do the rest by hand. Should also note that this is the Aero Precision A2 carry handle rear sight, if you guys are wondering. And there we go. We'll set this aside and maybe use it on a future build. And now it's time for everyone's favorite portion of the video, what's in the box? This is the portion of the video where I show you what's in the box. First off, we have our box. We have the S we used to draw in middle school, skew, the height, model number, and of course, most importantly, this box is actually pretty nice. It's got a magnet in here, so if you want to keep this box for when you propose to your girlfriend, it's a very nice box you could put a ring in. Then we have a quick instruction guide, very straightforward and to the point. You can go ahead and pause this at your leisure. But this essentially says to take the 4 screws, put them in the threads, thread it together, and progressively tighten the screws while firmly pressing the driver bit into the T10 socket to avoid slippage. The max torque spec for this is 10 inch-pounds. Then it shows you how to attach it to your rail. We also have a vacuum sealed mount, so that's pretty nice. What I love about these guys is they include not only the screws, which already have some red Loctite type material, I believe, on here, but they also include a driver bit to put on your torque wrench, which is super cool. Here's the mount itself. Here's a little close-up for you. Got all the same specs that it had on the box, so you know you have the right one. And there's your knob to tighten and loosen. Pretty straightforward, pretty standard really. As you might have noticed while watching this video, this is not a Aimpoint T2. This is a Holosun 403R. And there's a few things that are different as far as what comes in the box with this. One of which is the screws. Here are the two screws. The one on the left is the one from Holosun. The one on the right is the one that's provided to work with the T2 from Scalarworks. As you can see, the one on the left is a little bit longer, but based on the recesses in the mount from Scalarworks, I don't see the length to be an issue. I will also note that, just letting you guys know off camera, I looked at the diameter of both of these screws. They appear to be the same. The thread pitch appears to be the same as well. So we shouldn't have any issues, but just wanted to give you guys a close-up of that in case you're wondering if there is a difference. It's time to install the mount to the optics. So we're going to take our Wheeler's Fat Ranch. We're going to use our provided driver bit, like so. Then we're going to put it to 10 inch-pounds. And you can see, or maybe you can't see where that red line is. Normally I center it, but it says a max of 10 inch-pounds, so I might just have it be just a hair under centered on that line. Go ahead and line these up. And as you can see, because this is not an Aimpoint, there's going to be a little bit that's hanging off the front here. It's not going to fit perfectly. It fits perfectly as far as this channel and this right here, but it's obviously not going to be identical dimensions, so you have a little bit of excess off of here and a little bit of excess off of here, if that makes sense. Just getting these started right now. I'm not doing anything crazy. Now what I'm going to do is gradually tighten each one of these screws in an X pattern until I get to the point where they're all evenly tightened, and then I'll start getting it to that torque spec. All right, now I'm going to tighten them the rest of the way to get them to that torque spec. All right, just double checking all of them to make sure. All right, let's make sure this is tight, nothing's wobbling around. All right, that feels really solid. Next thing you'll want to do is take a Sharpie paint pen and witness mark just on the edges here, just so that because you have this big window, you can see if any of these are walking out. It's the torque spec, so you shouldn't have any issues, and you have that Loctite type material in there, so it shouldn't move at all, but it doesn't hurt to have those witness marks. There. The only thing left to do now is mount this to this big rail. I'm going to go ahead and do the T12 spot, like so. I'm going to push this forward and down as I tighten. And voila, there you have it. What do you guys think? As this is part of a series, I want to give you an update on the way I have this built out. One is going to be warranty stuff, and the other one is going to be just ask for suggestions for a future accessory for a future video. So the warranty stuff. This is not the same exact setup of upper as I had previously in my other videos. The reason for that being the front sight block that I originally received on my original upper was canted to the right, and I figured that out by trying to sight in my irons after exclusively using my red dot and other optics on this build. As I was sighting it in, I had to crank the rear sight over, I want to say 30 plus clicks to the right, which is pretty crazy, and that was a clue that something was off. I contacted the Aero Precision warranty department. They were great. They were like, yeah, remove any accessories that aren't Aero Precision, send it over, and we'll make it right. They replaced the barrel, they replaced the front sight gas block and the crush washer and the muzzle device as well. So that's all new on this build. I should say, didn't have any functionality issues with it before again, just want to make that clear. It was just a matter of my iron sights weren't aligning as easily because of the crookedness of that front sight block. One thing that I learned throughout the warranty process, one was that they're super responsive and great with warranty work. The other thing that I learned was that there is a mil-spec variance in front sight gas blocks. The variance is so many degrees to the right or to the left of center, and if it's within that variance, it's acceptable and it passes QC for the company sending out the assembled barrels, and then it also will get through the QC of whoever is distributing that setup. So that's something to keep in mind if you are going to be purchasing one of these uppers online. If you're not, if you're going to a brick and mortar store, you can actually get out micrometers and like double, triple check, make sure it's good before you buy it. The warranty department guy told me the exact measurement for how much to the left this one was. So the first one was way off to the right. This one is very, very, very slightly off to the left. And if I have to pick between the two, I'm good with that because as a right-handed shooter, when I'm putting this up, if it's way off to the right, I have to cant my head way over to actually see through my irons. But if it's a little bit off to the left, it's actually a little bit better for me as the way that my face is set up and, you know, in this zone, it's more natural for me if I have to be a little bit off to the left. So that's not as big of a deal to me. But either way, want to make sure you guys were aware of that warranty issue that I had. I'm going to be testing out this new barrel, you know, all this set up again in a future range video, so stay tuned for that. And obviously I'm gonna have to resight it in either way because I just changed this setup, so stay tuned. It's gonna be pretty hard to test out the front sight if I don't have a rear sight. If you have any suggestions, let me know what those are in the comment section below. Right now I'm leaning towards the Daniel Defense fixed rear sight, but if there's other options out there that you think are better, sound off in the comment section below. Well, that's going to do it for me on the Scalarworks Leap Mount review and installation and kind of general update on this whole series. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. If you haven't already subscribed, be sure to do so. And again, make sure to check me out on Rumble and check out my link tree in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching, stay free, and God bless.